we have decided to join the party and come up with our Big Six of 2026. All right, Big Six of 2026. What we at Encore believe are the Big Six themes for financial planning business owners, and they can understand how that's real and practical within their business and what they can do to make the theme a tailwind and not a headwind, because there will be winners and losers across our six themes.
If you keep switching out the technology and you keep having the same conversations over, it's probably not those things that are the problem.
Bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle, which sometimes we forget that, and often it's the CEO, it's the COO, it's the leadership team. The Big Six, let's start with the first one. We'll riff back and forth. The rise of the COTO. Well, we don't have enough acronyms, so we've got a new one at Encore. The COTO, C-O-T-O, is the Chief Operations and Technology Officer. Mark, you're on the boards of advice businesses. You've done a lot of work in this space. What's a COTO and what's happening with this theme in 2026?
Working with advice businesses around one of the big themes over the last couple of years: efficiency, productivity, simplification of processes, workflows, advice production systems. They all sit in the same genre, right? How do we make things more simple for the teams and employees to implement and deliver the advice? And how does that get then to clients in a way that is effective and clear to them about what that advice is trying to achieve for them? And so we could call that the back office. And in those conversations, there were always two conversations going on, but separate. Workflow, processes, standard operating procedures, documentation of what we do and how we do it. And then in another room was some of the same people having a conversation around what's the best technology system, CRM, workflow tool, project management tool. These two conversations are going on separately, sometimes in the same room, but they've been run by different people and different teams. It almost was like the elephant in the room that was not being noticed. And today we bring those conversations together. You can't have one without the other. The degree of technology that now underpins advice businesses, it's unignorable, probably not a word, for business owners to now look at the fact that advice businesses are technology businesses, certainly technology enabled businesses, and being really crystal clear on the client experience you want to deliver, the processes to deliver that, and then using the technology to enable that is critical. Bringing that together inside a single function in the business and then a single role is going to be as important to the growth of advice businesses over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years, in my opinion, as the introduction and hiring of the practice manager role was 10 or 15 years ago. It is the practice manager role of 2025 and beyond for advice businesses to have a single person that is understanding and driving the operations of the business that includes the systems, the processes, and the technology. That's how I would describe it, Brendan.
We've done a lot of work with CEO roles and a big shift from these hybrid CEOs that are also giving financial advice to being pure, dedicated CEOs within these systems, and that's been a big transformation. What's the first step for businesses to understand whether a COTO role needs to be, one, created, and two, elevated to that leadership team to set the business up for the next 3 years?
That's a great question, and I don't think that there's any single answer, but it absolutely starts with what are the pains and the frustrations and the blockages and the barriers going on in the business. And if the management conversations, the team conversations, and all the board conversations are continuing to have on the agenda, our processes aren't simple enough, people aren't following them, or we're constantly reviewing our technology stack and we keep moving. Oh, this CRM didn't work. Oh, let's try a different CRM solution. Oh, that piece of technology didn't work. Let's try a different piece of technology. If you keep switching out the technology, and you keep having the same conversations over, it's probably not those things that are the problem. So, and I see this time and time again where, and this also goes to a little off topic, outsource providers. I've seen the movie play time and time again where it's the outsource provider isn't doing the job, so let's move to a different outsource provider, and the same thing keeps happening. It's really difficult as humans, let alone as a business, to look in the mirror and go, maybe I haven't kind of got this right. And so there's often a voice missing at the table. That is, how does our advice production system processes run? And then what are the tools and the technologies needed to make that happen? And if you don't have a deep understanding of both of those, it's very difficult to line them up. So I'd say step number one is look back over the board, leadership, team, meeting agenda items. And if they're the same conversations around efficiency, production, processes, and what is the right tech widget, then it's time to relook at, okay, how are we actually addressing this as a board and as a leadership group? And we might have a capability missing, and that is the person or people who understand deeply those two areas.
Yeah, it's good tips. And what I'd add is where there's a bottleneck is always at the top of the bottle, which sometimes we forget that. And often it's the CEO, it's the COO, it's the leadership team. And when we've interviewed hundreds of people in 2025, the common frustration that's come up is around process, clarity, engagement, and leadership. So it's everything from CEO and infrastructure, and it's not to do with the clients and the value proposition, and the clients are loving what they're getting. It's really in this chief operations and technology officer field, which, as you say, no one's owning it end to end. So I think that's great. Start with the problems, talk to your people, identify it. Couple of things to finish on this one. We've both seen within businesses, not just multiple AI tools across the business and technology platforms. There's individuals using all different AI tools within pods, and then within people within pods. So it gets to the stage where if you do an audit of what technology are we using as a business, it's more and more, and the solution seems to be, let's add another AI tool, let's add another platform, whether it's advice, investment, or some other technology platform, and it just keeps growing and growing. And the problem gets better when they think it's getting solved by more technology.
Brendan, I love that top of the bottle analogy. I'm so going to be stealing that, and I'm probably not going to be crediting you on that analogy. I want to give for our listeners a second, or it could be an equal first, that is pragmatic, measurable, and is a number. It's 80-20. Businesses that are in that 8 mil to 12 mil of revenue band. It's where you're jumping off the proverbial horizon onto the next one to push through the barrier. That is 80-20 typically where this role needs to be considered to be brought in. It is still a new role, and I know a number of businesses that are experimenting with this, and some are looking at it as a senior equivalent to a COO. Others are looking at it as a less senior but still high impact. So this is one where we're still all going to be figuring it out, but the trajectory of this is pretty clear. The velocity, I think, is going to pick up over the next year or two in this area, but definitely if you're in that 8 to 12 million range, this is one that is going to have a significant impact on the ROI.